past, fatal heart impacts, past painful scars. In fact, I blast tasteful bars and pass. I back up my actions, fact don't ask, grab reactions, jacked attack with every word, then act with class as they hear me snap. I got nothing to lose, cause I fought and felt the bruise. Now I'm not the one confused, call the shots and they produce. I ain't lost, I'm finally loose, pick a new silver excuse. I need the views to boost me to a new abuse of being used. Everybody wants a piece now, y'all can rest in peace now. You're dead to me, so peace out. Remember you're discreet now, get ready for defeat now.
Alrighty. Hello everybody. This is Q Show here. And now, whenever we last left off with this series, we had Izuku. And well, quite a bit of things did happen for our quote-unquote hero. Now, what happened for him was a few things. The king told Midoriya he could not go on any more adventures after Midoriya beat his rigged game. Midoriya, he then turned around and went on an adventure where he killed a dragon and earned the trust of the people in the city. To which the king, there were a few problems with that. Along with that, he did brainwash his daughter after she tried to at least convince him to lighten up restrictions on this adventure. Now, the king, he is not pleased. Midoriya, the next day after waking up drunk as shit after celebrating, going to see the king and speaking with both him and the queen, as he was told he can pack up all of his things and stay in the castle until they sent him to the front lines to fight. Now, with that being said, Midoriya, him and his companions did do this. Midoriya, he gets a high-level room in the castle. And Midoriya, he was quite surprised by this. However, you do actually also have his companions. The castle guest, they were given rooms that would not be anywhere near Midoriya's. Midoriya's is a room for a nobleman, while theirs is a room for the servants. They're all basically sharing a cramped room together, with nothing but beds inside of it. Now, they were quite pissed. However, with just the three of them here, it is at least somewhat more spacious than it should be. And we actually do have where Midoriya, he was instructed by some of the servants that he needs to take a bath. Along with that, they will toss out his dirty clothes, and they'll give him a fresh new pair. Now, Midoriya, he did just take his clothes and put them in his inventory. As we do have where he did take off his shirt and his cloak. Some of the servants seeing Midoriya's body. The man is very muscular, and he looks so battle-torn with his scars. The fact that he's a hero is quite surprising. Not a lot of people do see these scars, apparently. There are some visible on Midoriya's neck and face. Along with those strange markings, they believe to be at least dirt smudges. Now, Midoriya, he did then take a bath. Whenever he did arrive, you did actually have a servant who was trying to inform Midoriya about what to do. Then basically going through the steps that this is a towel and this bar right here, where you're just grabbing it out of their hand and saying he knows what this thing is. It's called soap. You use it to scrub your body and get rid of germs and bacteria. The servant, surprised, as Midoriya, he did then grab the towel and order them to leave him alone. Okay. Them walking out of the room as Midoriya, he did close the door. And the servant was confused. How the hell does Midoriya know what soap is? Only nobles know what that stuff is. Now, we do then have Midoriya, who he did sit down in the water that was prepared for him. It is warm. Midoriya, he does find this at least somewhat refreshing. The only time he's ever really bathed is in a cold cauldron of water, or at least some river that he cast the fireball into. Midoriya deciding to actually open up his skill list as he does look through the tree. If he does remember correctly, there was a specific skill he was looking for. Where is it? Where is it? It could have been useful against that dragon, actually. Now, Midoriya he does find it. It's an evolution of the fireball skill. Along with that, if he does take this skill on, he can actually increase his magical performance with fireball. Midoriya taking on fire magic. As he also does think, fire magic is good. Let's see. Now, Midoriya he does begin to start looking through his skill list as he does then use his mana and start to create some flames. Now, Midoriya he does heat up his bath more, as he does buy a few things of magic. Now, Midoriya buys lightning magic, wind magic, fire magic, and a specialized magic for Midoriya's voice. Now, along with that, Midoriya he does actually go to look into more and more skills. And he does find it to be quite interesting. Now, Midoriya he also does want to at least look around the castle some more. So he does start to increase his level of stealth. Now, this is quite odd, as we do actually have where Midoriya, he does go to get out of the bath, and then going to look at the clothes that have been left out for him. And Midoriya he does find it to be quite surprising. Him looking down at this shirt, as he just stared at it for 1 second. And he does remember the first time he did come to this world. He came here as a weaker version of himself. He came here as a boy. It's barely been a little over a year. And if he's correct, his birthday would be coming up soon. If not in a few months. That means I'm going to be 16. Shit. Now, Ryuhei does just think. It sucks that he's away from everyone else. He does miss them. However, he can't really afford to think about them anymore. Sure, they're good memories and all, but he can't get back to his own world from here. The goddess, if he asked, probably he could be sent into another world similar to it, but that's all it would just be. There's a chance that he might just get sent back powerless and live through his life once again. Here, Midoriya, he has enough power to make decisions he wants to happen. Here, Midoriya, he is at least somebody people either respect or fear. It's a strange way of thinking, but Midoriya, he does like it. Now, Midoriya, he does also then go to put his hair back with something that was left for him. Midoriya walking out of the bath as a ton of steam does come out as he does open the door. And you do actually have a few servants who are standing there. And they do see Midoriya. He is in what looks to be a white shirt and some blue pants that were made for a nobleman. Along with that, Midoriya, he does also have his hair up and tied back. And many of these people and servants are staring at him. Now, Midoriya, as he does go to turn and walk in a direction, you do actually have where somebody they do come walking up. And they do go to reach for Midoriya's face, asking him why he didn't get these things around his, Midoriya grabbing them by their wrist, as he doesn't turn his head toward them slowly. Those don't come off. Have you tried scrubbing them? Yes, I have. Midoriya does say to the woman, informing her that these are the marks of a dragon slayer. And he has to put up with it now as well. As boring or at least bothersome as they do look, they do at least mean something significant. Midoriya telling them to never try to reach for his face once again. Otherwise, he's going to take that arm. Now, Midoriya would let go of the servant's arm, as they do pull it away quickly. The person then running away from Midoriya, as they didn't expect the hero to be so violent, let alone, well, just merciless in the way he acts. Now, Midoriya, he would then go to head over to meet up with his friends, as he does want to know what's going on with them. Now, Midoriya, he would go to open the door to what was supposed to be their quarters. And Midoriya, he does see this room. It's very small and tiny. And it kind of does at least seem a little homey. It reminds him of the inn. Now, Midoriya would call out for Ray, Bell, and Lee, asking if they're in here. As you have somebody who does come running up and directly look at Midoriya. As it's Lee. Her staring at her master, asking him exactly what is he wearing. I don't know. Listen, these are the only clothes they had for me, and they're not going to let me wear my usual crap. Sir, you look, well, like a noble. Don't compare me to them. Now, you do actually have Ray who does stare at Midoriya, as she does look at him confused. He does look pretty handsome. However, that scruffy, well, just burly look he had to him, she thought it was better. But this does seem to have its own sort of thing around it. And you do actually have Belle, who she was surprised because Midoriya, he does apparently clean up very well. Now, Midoriya would inform that he's going to go train in the courtyard, and that he doesn't know if they want to join him or not. Now, we do then have the princess, who she is currently out in the courtyard and sipping tea, as she's she's acting as if business is usual. And you do actually have where her guards, they are around her. As we do then have where Midoriya, he does come walking out. The princess going to stand up and go to walk over to him, greeting him kindly and asking exactly what is he doing out here at this hour. It's still barely mid-noon. I'm here to train. Train? Yes, my magical power. I gained a significant amount killing that dragon, and I want to see what I have learned. Now, Midoriya, he does go to walk out in the middle of the courtyard as he does start to begin to cast his magic. Guards from all around, they do look his way, along with even the king and queen paying attention to Midoriya. They have to keep an especially close eye on him. He's the human who is able to slay a dragon. And it's not just that. If they make one misstep around him, he can end their lives and destroy everything they've ever built. Now, this is where we do actually then cut to Midoriya outside. He's already been manipulating the wind, as he did bring clouds directly overhead of the castle. As he did then bring his hand up and catch an actual lightning bolt directly in his hand. Now, people were surprised when Midoriya basically turned himself into a lightning rod. Midoriya catching the lightning bolt as he does then take this power in his hand and directly throw it as a charged ball. Now, Midoriya does throw it high in the air as it would explode. Now, a lot of people do watch. You do then have when Midoriya does then start to at least manipulate the air and allow it to rain, as he does also then begin to start collecting water directly in his hand. And it does begin to start levitating and moving around. As Midoriya does go to shape it directly in ice by freezing it, and then crack it apart into, well, shaved ice basically. Midoriya looking at that, he says, tosses up in the air. Interesting. These powers are pretty fun. Now, you do have guards who are just staring at Midoriya. He's so casually casting levels of magic that are strong. And he's acting as if this is just a child's game. This is insane. This is the power of the hero, isn't it? It has to be. There's no other way to explain it. Now, you do actually then have Midoriya, who he does go to test out one of these dragon abilities. Him going to bring up his hand as he does watch his, wrist begin to start having veins pop out of it, as his fingernails and tips of his fingers do turn into claws. And he would look at that. Now, people they are surprised. Midoriya doing this over and over again, as he does then try to at least create wings. He spent a majority of his skill points in leveling up these dragon level stats, or dragon abilities, and he does want to test them out. Now, they do watch as Midoriya he does then go to fall onto his knees, as a pair of wings does sprout and throw open the back of his shirt. Them sweeping up high into the air, as Midoriya's wingspan is at least 15 feet. Now, as that did happen, you do actually have the knight who would come running up, and they do accuse Midoriya of being a demi-human. Now, Midoriya he just does look back up at them. His eyes are red. Along with that, the inside of them look different. And then there's whenever they do stare directly at him, and he does go to open his mouth. Midoriya taking a deep breath in as he does let out a deep breath out. And the knights, they do feel the atmosphere go from what could be described as a nice sunny day to a cold blizzard. And you do actually have the princess, who she does walk over and grab Midoriya. Her asking him to please cease this unnecessary misconduct. And Midoriya he does look down at her. And he does see that look in her eyes. As Midoriya he does immediately have something click in his head. Now, Midoriya he does unlock a unique skill, and it does pop up directly on his hub, asking Midoriya if he would like to use Total Recall. Now, Midoriya he doesn't know what this is, and I'm going to go to his menu and open it up, as he does look at the information on this passive level skill. Total Recall. It allows Midoriya to remember anything whenever he does need information, and it will trigger certain things whenever he does at least need information about something he may have heard in the past. Now, it basically explains to Midoriya that he will know whenever Total Recall is activated, and the information will be automatically put into his mind. Now, Midoriya he would activate Total Recall, as his eyes they do begin to start glowing, and Midoriya he does get thrown back in time. Now, Midoriya he does remember where he's seen that look in the princess's eyes, as he's back inside of his jail cell, and he's looking at a small little basin of water that was given to him, as he does sit against the jail cell corner with the moonlight pouring in, reflecting off of the bowl as he does see his own reflection. The look of a slave. Now, we do have where Midoriya he does jump back into reality, and he does go to start flying away to test his wingspan and his skills. Now, Midoriya he does fly away and leave, as we do then have where Midoriya, he leaves the castle for about an hour, and he does begin to start thinking about everything. Now, Midoriya he has lost all hope for humanity. Just whenever he thought the king and queen could be trusted, it doesn't seem like they can be. They are willing to do anything, and if Midoriya's feeling is correct, they've enslaved their own daughter. That look in her eyes is not one he can ever forget, or anyone can ever hide. It's the look of somebody who's lost faith in everything they've ever known. who's been betrayed constantly over constantly and has no control over their own actions. Now, Midoriya, he does fly through the air, as he does eventually land back inside the castle, and the abilities of the dragon, they do wear off. Now, we do then have where later at dinner, everybody there are sitting there. Midoriya, he was given a fresh change of clothes since he did just damage his other pair. And everyone is all sitting there at the table. Midoriya, he was invited to eat with the king. And they were quite impressed that Midoriya does at least show some table etiquette. Midoriya, he doesn't put his elbows up and he's not eating like some greasy pig. Midoriya, he's at least using a fork and a knife. And you do have where they're staring at Midoriya. Him chewing his food slowly, and then swallowing it whole. And he's at least being very, very polite. Now, the table is quiet. Midoriya and the princess shooting each other a few glances. As you do actually have the queen who does break the silence, asking the young man if he is ready to go to the front lines tomorrow morning. That's quite easy. I'm willing to go now, actually. But my companions, if I do leave them behind, I do not trust they will be in proper care. And what exactly does that mean? It means I'm very skeptical of your nation. You have to understand, I am a stranger here. A stranger? You speak the language just fine. Along with that, from what I have been at least informed of, you do know how to read and write, correct? Yes, I do. However, I'm very curious. Exactly where are you from? You see, I'm not so sure of that myself. Roy explained that he woke up somewhere in the middle of the forest, and he had no memory of anything beforehand. Now, he does at least explain his story some more. And he does then stare at the king as he does say the words, he was branded as a slave and forced to fight. Now, the king, he does excuse himself from the table, as he does think that Midoriya, he's figured it out all out. Now, total recall would activate. Midoriya freezing for a second before he does go back to saying what he was saying, explaining to the queen exactly how he's done this and this and this to survive. And the queen just found it to be quite interesting, asking Midoriya to please draw his blade. She's very curious about it. Now, Midoriya would go to draw his weapon, as it does appear in his hand. Him holding it and inspecting it himself. Since this sword, it's currently called something Midoriya he cannot pronounce. He doesn't exactly know what it is now, but he does know the objective of it. He needs to gather 9,000 more souls. And then, something is going to happen. Now, Midoriya, he was just told that information. And he does want to at least understand this more. This is being where the queen should just stand up from the table and walk over to inspect Midoriya's blade, asking what it's like to wield that weapon. And Midoriya does explain it. As the princess, she does watch this all happen. And we do actually have Midoriya, he does look in her direction, as he does give a slight little wink. Now, the princess, she is confused, as Midoriya, he does go to reach up his hand and grab the back of his neck as if he's going to scratch something. Now, the princess, she's very alarmed. He figured it all out. He figured out that she's been enslaved. When? How? Now, Midoriya, yeah. This is where he does decide to do something. After dinner is all said and done, he does go for a stroll throughout the castle. And guards, they do see him. Now, as where he is walking around, you do have where he does eventually end up outside of his squad mate's room, him knocking on the door and talking with them for a few minutes, as he's informing many of them about tomorrow morning and what their mission's gonna be, talking about how they need to break through the fighting line and at least try to get into the demi-human nation. Now, many of them, or at least all of them, they are skeptical. Sure, they'll fit in, but Midoriya, he's the human. In their nation, he'll be the one who's out of place, so to say. And Midoriya has explained to them that if he does use his dragon abilities, he can at least make something up. Or if he does spec into a specialized skill, he can at least look like a demi-human. Now, they are all confused. And Midoriya, he does go to look through his skill tree. Come on, where is it? Where is it? Midoriya does say. Him moving his hands on the table as they're confused. Midoriya is swiping away at nothing for them. However, for him, he's looking around his entire skill avenue. Now, Midoriya, he does eventually find the skill. It was buried so far deep. And it was something Midoriya, he has been trying to at least investigate before. It's a part of the hidden magic skill. Or at least a part of the, well, stealth skill. It's called Mimic. Now, the magic allows Midoriya to mimic anybody he believes himself to be. It's basically a form of transformation magic and a form of illusion. However, Midoriya, his body will change depending on what he tries to transform into. Now, Midoriya, he does inform all of them of this, and they are quite surprised. Since that skill Midoriya is talking about, it's not really very, rare one. However, it is quite at least uncommon. You don't really hear too much about it. Usually it's used by demi-humans to look human, not the other way around. Now, Midoriya, he would actually go to buy the skill, and he does actually start to put a ton of points in it, to see exactly how far he can make this go. Now, Midoriya would stand up, as he does then at least go to look towards Bell, and try to think. Now, okay, focus. This being where you do actually have Lee, who she was going to sip water, as she did blink. The moment her eyes did open back up, you did have where she did see Midoriya dressed as a maid and turned back into Belle. Her spitting out her coffee, or at least her water, not coffee, and directly onto Midoriya. Midoriya just looking down and thinking, this quite wasn't what I had in mind. Dorizaya, can you not transform into me? Oh, sorry. Just kinda, well, what are you just thinking? Him looking towards Lee. As Lee does then blink again and see herself. As she does go to jump up, asking exactly, Sir, what is this? And Midoriya does explain. He doesn't know. It might take some time to at least practice, but he might be able to at least maintain or at least do his own form. If not, then, well, someone here is going to have a twin. Now, they do at least stare at Midoriya, and they're curious. As Midoriya, he does transform back into himself, and then he does head to leave. As he does leave, you do actually have where he does head back to his own quarters. As Midoriya, he does go inside his room, he does lay down and begin to try and think. He wants to understand exactly what's happened. Today has been pretty crazy. And the fact is, yeah. The humans in this world, they are the most untrustworthy people he's ever met. There might be good ones, but the good are far outnumbered by the bad. Midoriya he does want to at least do something about it, as does check his inventory and look at his sword. He's still trying to understand what this, well, language is. He can't really read it. However, he had to guess it's something about the Demon Lord. Now, Midoriya he does fall asleep, as we do have a few hours later where he is awoken. Him confused, he's just lying in bed, as he does feel something directly to his left. Midoriya thinks that he might be getting attacked. However, he's not, since he does feel somebody put a hand directly on his chest. And Midoriya, yeah. He just thinks it's either Lee or Belle. Hopefully it's not Ray. She's still pretty strange. Now, as Midoriya he does go to think that, you do have where he does look down and go to pull over his covers. Listen, Lee, I understand that Midoriya seeing the princess, as he's very confused. You're in my bed. Yes, that would appear so. Why? I can't sleep. The dragon? No, not that. Other matters. I see. So, I know what happened to you. Hmm? Yes, I don't want to talk about that. Please change the subject for right now. Alright, now. Midoriya he does begin at least talk vaguely about something. And the princess he does begin at least catch on, as she does start to speak this strange way. Now, Midoriya he doesn't directly refer to what's going on to her. However, he does at least talk about something similar. Him making up a story about somebody who does at least, well, they go to these extremes for exactly this type of reason. However, basically does align up to what the princess's situation is. She's not in control of her own actions, and she's being forced to do this by somebody else. Now, this is quite surprising. The princess, she doesn't understand this. She's able to talk about it, but she's also not talking about it. And she does try to at least continue speaking this strange way. This man seems to be quite intelligent. He knew right off the bat that he probably couldn't talk to her or speak to her about this. And it did somewhat comfort her that he does at least have experience. I have a few questions. Were you scared? When you were, you know. Yes, I was. Exactly how did it happen? I don't really like talking about it, but if I do have to say something, I was sold into it by my first friend in this nation. I'm sorry. Don't be. I was barely in this nation for about a week. Then I was sold. The place I was at was attacked. I tried to fight. I talked about how if we all picked up swords, we could outnumber the bandits. We can all win. I then got an arrow in my shoulder and, well, dragged by a horse until I was beaten unconscious by the rocks. Then I was in a cage. Next thing I know, it was bright. I was outside of a mansion and the scalding iron in the back of my neck. Now, The princess, she can clearly see that Midoriya, he is getting mad speaking about all this, asking how he didn't give up. And Midoriya would just look back at her. He did give up. However, one day he unlocked a skill, something he never believed he would ever be able to do. The skill is called Defiant to Order. It's the what protected him against Oswald and against her father. And it's one of the reasons why he's a free man. Defiant to Order? This skill, how do you unlock it? I don't know if you can. It was unique to me. Besides, Roya, him saying to her that he's not sure if she can use skill points the way he can, but yeah, it cost about 50 of them. Now, she does look at Midoriya, asking exactly how does one get 50 skill points. And Midoriya does express to her that she needs to kill. Now, she does stare at Midoriya shocked, asking if that's where he got all of his power from. Yeah, it does. It's quite the shocker, isn't it? So much blood on my hands, all for so much power? Yeah. It's not just that, you can train for it and experience things. That's how unique skills work. However, for you, it's somewhat simpler. I freed Bell the same way I freed myself. There's one specific thing about those contracts that you should know. Technically, I can break it and set you free. Now, the princess, she does just stare at Midoriya, looking at him kind of confused. What is he talking about? Now, the princess, she's trying to deflect this question since Midoriya just directly mentioned he knew about her collar, or at least her slave symbol. Now, Midoriya, he does inform her, as he does at least look back at her, that the symbol on the back of her neck for slavery, it can be undone by the death of one or two things. Her or her father. Now, inside of her mind, she is thinking, that is horrifying. It makes no sense. Midoriya then explaining that the slave symbol, he's researched it before. Over the course of the year he's been here, he's heard that it is impossible to remove once applied. And the only way to remove it is death. Now, she's horrified hearing this. This magic is used all throughout her nation, and she's never really thought about it this way. And that would mean that her just thinking, as her eyes, they do tear up as she does keep a straight face. And she does then at least go to leave. Now, the next morning, Midoriya, he would be sitting there with the king eating breakfast, along with the queen. Now, Midoriya, he would go to stand up and inform both of them that he needs to be heading out with his party. I see. Well then, let us know whenever you will be back. Maybe, but at the same time, I'm going to at least try and finish this up quickly. After that does happen, I am curious. You need to keep up your end of the bargain. Now, the queen would look at Midoriya, saying that their word is their bond. And Midoriya does stare right through her. She's full of shit. Now, Midoriya, he would look at the princess. As he does go to stand up, she does as well, walking over to say goodbye to him, as Midoriya, he does go to at least, well, I wouldn't say give her a handshake, but he does at least, let's say that she does at least give him a hug. And this does at least surprise Midoriya. Now, as he does that, you do actually then have where she does slip something into his pocket. And Midoriya and his party, they are off. As you do have where the king, he does scold his daughter for what she did behind closed doors. And Midoriya and his party, they do get on a wagon, and they're heading directly into the battlefield. Where Midoriya, he will meet the prince of this nation. And he will come back to the City of Lights. Since there's one problem. Once the war it is over, let's just say, he has to free that princess. Then there's the fact that he'll have people come after him by the king himself. So there's a chance that they might be able to flee to the nation of the demi-humans. Since they can at least try and seek refuge there where the king has no power. Now, with that being said, I do hope you guys enjoyed, and have an amazing day. I'll catch you guys in the next part.